You are 30-something years old. You have a job. You have bills with your name printed on them. Maybe you even keep a plant alive. And still, somewhere in the back of your mind, there is a quiet thought you have never said out loud. When is someone going to notice that I am just pretending? You keep waiting for the day you finally feel like an adult. The day never comes. And you have been told, in 100 small ways, that this means you are behind. Immature. Failing at growing up. That diagnosis is wrong. Stay with me, because what nobody told you about this feeling changes everything. Here's the idea this whole video is built on. You do not feel like an adult, not because something inside you failed to develop. The measuring stick you were handed was drawn for a world that no longer exists. They call it being stuck. It is actually being caught between two completely different definitions of grown up. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Start with a moment you probably know. You are standing at the mechanic, nodding slowly while a man explains what is wrong with your car, and you understand maybe half the words. You pay. You walk out. And a small voice inside says, "A real adult would have known what he was talking about." Or this one. Something breaks at work or in the family, and everyone turns to you. You handle it. You actually handle it well. But the whole time, part of you is looking over your shoulder, waiting for the actual grown-up to walk in and take over. Nobody walks in, or the smallest one of all. A kid at the store calls you sir or ma'am. And for half a second, you turn around to see who they mean. Sound familiar? That is the strange texture of this feeling. It is not that you cannot do adult things. You do them every single day. You file the taxes. You book the appointments. You show up. The doing is there. The feeling is not. And it follows you into strange places. You can run a meeting, negotiate a salary, comfort a friend through the worst night of their life. Then your washing machine floods, and your first instinct, before any practical thought, is a childlike flash of someone should fix this. Then you remember, the someone is you. So you live with this quiet gap between your outside and your inside. On paper, an adult. Inside, someone doing a very committed impression of one. And because nobody around you admits to the same gap, you assume it is yours alone. Have you ever actually asked someone else if they feel it too? Most people never do. Which is exactly why the gap survives. But here is where it gets interesting. That gap has a name, and it did not start with you. Back in the 1960s, a psychologist named Bernice Neugarten described something she called the social clock. The idea is simple and a little brutal. Every culture carries an invisible timetable for life. Finish school by this age, own a home by that age. Marriage here, kids there, stability by 30. Nobody hands you the schedule on paper. You absorb it from your parents, from movies, from relatives, asking questions at dinner. And your mind quietly checks you against that clock all the time. You can feel the clock most clearly at family gatherings. The questions arrive with the food. So, when are you buying a place? Any news on the relationship? Still at that same job? The questions sound like small talk, but they are really the clock, reading your time out loud in front of everyone. And notice what your body does when they ask. Something tightens. Not because the questions are cruel, but because part of you has already asked them at 2 a.m. in a harsher voice. When your life matches the timetable, you feel on track, even if you never think about it. When your life runs late against it, something in you registers that lateness as failure. Not loudly. It shows up as that low hum of being behind, of not being where you are supposed to be. Now look at the clock you inherited. It was set by people who came of age in a different economy. For many of them, one income could carry a mortgage. A job could last 30 years. The checkpoints came in a tidy row, and hitting them is what made a person feel grown. You measured yourself against that schedule your entire life, quietly, automatically. And every checkpoint that arrived late, or has not arrived at all, got filed away as evidence about you. It never occurred to the clock that the world might be the thing that changed. And this is where it gets complicated. Because the world did change, and psychology actually caught it happening. In 2000, a researcher named Jeffrey Arnett noticed that the old story of development had a missing chapter. People were no longer jumping from adolescence straight into settled adult life. School stretched longer. Careers started later and changed more often. Homes cost multiples of what they once did. Marriage and kids drifted from the mid-20s toward the 30s when they came at all. So Arnett named a new life stage, emerging adulthood, a long, wandering stretch where you are clearly not a teenager, but the old milestones of adulthood keep moving away from you like a horizon. Run the comparison yourself. At your current age, where were your parents, and what did the world charge them to be there? A starter home that cost a couple of years of one salary. A career that hired you young and kept you for decades. Now put your numbers next to theirs. Same age, different planet. Is it really a mystery that the old feeling of arrival keeps failing to show up? Think about what that means. The road itself was redrawn. The checkpoints your parents used to know they were adults, the house, the wedding, the lifelong job, moved or vanished entirely. You are not walking their road slower. You are walking a different road, holding their map. Picture that map for a second. Drawn decades ago, landmarks inked in confident lines. House by 28, kids by 30, and you standing in terrain that looks nothing like the drawing, concluding that you must be the one who is lost. You were never lost. The map is old, and 90s kids got the sharpest version of this. You are the generation that memorized the old map as children, watched it stop matching the ground in real time, and then you got blamed for not arriving at landmarks that no longer exist. That is not a character flaw. That is a timing problem you did not choose. But here is the part that explains everything. Even the feeling itself, the sense that real adulthood is a state other people have reached, turns out to be built on a misunderstanding. Ask yourself honestly, what did you think being an adult would feel like? Probably some version of this. Certain, settled, finished. You watched the grown-ups of your childhood move through the world and assumed they felt as solid inside as they looked outside. Psychologists who study something called subjective age keep finding the same odd result. Most adults report feeling meaningfully younger inside than the number on their birth certificate. Ask people in their 40s, their 50s, even their 70s, and a version of the same confession comes back. I keep waiting to feel my age. It has not happened yet. Which means the adults you were measuring yourself against, your parents, your teachers, the ones who seemed so finished, were very likely improvising too. They stood in kitchens feeling 25 and terrified. They signed papers they did not fully understand. They just never told you. There is even a running joke among older generations that captures it perfectly. Everyone keeps looking around for the adults in the room, and then one day realizes, with mild horror, that other people are looking at them. So the destination you have been trying to reach, that inner click of now I am officially an adult, is not late. It was never real. Adulthood is not a feeling that arrives one day and stays. It is not a certificate your nervous system prints when you buy a couch. It is closer to a practice. It is the thing you are already doing, showing up, paying the bill, making the call you do not want to make, taking care of people, all while feeling unsure the entire time. Read that again. The feeling of unsureness was never proof you are not an adult. Carrying responsibility while feeling unsure is what being an adult has quietly been all along. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not behind. You are on time for a clock that nobody bothered to reset. You are not immature. You are measuring a new kind of life with an old generation's ruler and then punishing yourself for the mismatch. And you are not pretending either. Look at what you actually do. You keep yourself alive in an economy that asks more and promises less. You handle things. You show up for people. If an outside observer watched your week without hearing your self-talk, they would describe a functioning adult. The only witness who disagrees is the voice comparing you to a map from another century. Maybe the milestones still matter to you, some of them. That is fine. Want the house, want the family, but want them as choices on your road, at your pace, not as overdue proof that you are finally a real person. And the next time that voice starts up, at the mechanic, at the dinner table, at 2 a.m., you can answer it differently. Not with a checklist, with a question of your own. Behind on whose schedule, exactly. Because here is the quiet truth underneath all of it. Nobody feels like an adult. Some people just stopped waiting for the feeling and started trusting the practice. You can put the old map down now. You are allowed to draw your own, with landmarks that actually exist in your world. Slower, stranger, and honestly yours. If some part of this felt like it was written about you, tell me in the comments the age you still feel inside. I have a feeling the numbers will surprise you, and I read every single one. Somewhere tonight, the people you thought had it all figured out are lying awake, feeling 25 and unsure, just like you. You were never behind. The clock was. Subscribe to keep decoding yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.